Hello and welcome to Craft with Sarah. In this video, I'll show you how to cut a layered SVG cut file from wood using the Xtool M1 laser cutter. We'll take a look at how to format and size the files from within the Xtool software, how to choose which layers to cut to avoid the project getting too thick, and how to put it all together once it's been cut. Let's get started. Here is the design I'm going to be cutting from wood, and this is one of the SVG files from my website. So it's been designed to be cut with a Cricut machine, but I'm going to see how I can have a play with this in the Xtool Creative Space software so that I can cut it from layers of wood instead of what I'd normally use with my Cricut, which would be cardstock. And because all of this will be the same color from my wood, I'm going to be playing about with the engraving features as well to add some of the details. I've already added the wood into my laser machine and it's sitting on top of the triangle prism so that it should hopefully cut a little bit better. So that's all good. Let's just click off of there, and I'm using the laser flat and using that one, and I've raised the heights on my triangular prism. So that's all good. I'm going to start playing about with the design. So I've never actually done this before, and I've never cut a layered design from wood before. So this video is very much my experiment. And I thought it'd be nice to kind of capture the first attempt, because then I can see if there's ways I can improve later on. And also it's good to kind of show mistakes and how to get past them. I'm sure there will be mistakes. All right, so to make it a bit easier to see, I'm going to drag my design off of here just to work with it. And first, let's resize it actually. So I'm thinking about 7 inches wide. So I've got everything selected. And let's change the width to 7 inches. The padlock is closed, so everything changed in proportion. It's going to be much easier to resize it now rather than when I've moved all the pieces apart from each other. Okay, so my designs, because they're designed to be done from cardstock, they have a lot of layers in them. And if I was to cut every single piece from wood, this would end up so thick. And I don't think it would look great. So I'm going to have a little play and use a few less layers. I'm just dragging them apart now so you can kind of see just how many pieces this is. I think this is 3. There we go. All right, so I'm going to delete this layer. This is like an offset layer of the mandala. I don't think I need that one. And then thinking about how it's going to work, I'd quite like to engrave those details of the stalk on this bottom piece so that will show the details, and then do the same with the mandala and this little detail on top. I don't think I need this solid piece, which would be the same size as that mandala. So I'm going to delete that one. And then when it's layered up, the gaps in the wood on this one will show through and you'll be able to see the wood on this one. If you were painting it, each layer, that probably wouldn't be ideal because this would be green. But because I'm going to leave it all in my wood color, I'm happy for that to happen and for all those gaps. So at the moment, that's 1 piece of wood, 2 pieces of wood. This could be a 3rd one on top, but I think it might be nice to actually engrave the edges of the pumpkin on top of this one. And with my designs, all of the shapes build up on each other. So you can see on this one, it's got those ridges of the pumpkin. The only thing I'm a little bit worried about is having to engrave those whole flower shapes. That's quite a big area, and I've never done that before. So I'll have to see if that works. I suppose I could crop it because it's going to have the other leaves stuck on top anyway. So I could crop those bits, then it wouldn't need to worry about engraving something that's going to be covered up. So let's try that. change this one to engrave, and it needs to sit on top of that one. I want to make sure it's exactly in the same place. So I'll go align left, and align top, just to make sure they're exactly one on top of the other. And then to take out some of this engraving space, just so it doesn't need to do that whole thing. It'll be quicker as well doing it this way. Add a circle. And your layer design that you're doing, you might not need to do this much formatting. I'm being a little bit picky. There's that one there. And let's copy and paste and just take out that one. Select both of these. Come on, there we go. And combine, unite. If you've got a Cricut machine, these words will hopefully kind of be familiar to you. And then I'll select them and my engraved flower layer and go combine, subtract. And you see what that's done is it's just taken these circular bits away. So now they're not going to be engraved. It should still cut around the edge because it's cutting that mandala bit, and then it will engrave on top. I'm hoping it will be smart enough to do the engraving first and then the cutting. But as I've never tried engraving and cutting, I don't know. So we'll see. Let's group those layers together. And for the flowers, I'm going to do very much the same thing. So I'm going to have the solid cutout, which will be stuck on there. And then let's engrave the details on top. So again, align those up. Align left, align top. And I'll just group them so I know that when I move them, I'm getting both of them. And the same on those two. Align left, align top. To change that top one to engrave. And then group. I don't know if I should be playing about with the engraving settings. So I'm going to try it just as it comes. And we'll see. Let's just have a little look, actually. What have we got? I don't really know what any of this means. So I'm just going to keep it as the default. If it doesn't work out great, then I can play about with it another time. Let's group them. All right, this is my difficult one because I don't want this whole thing to be engraved. I only want these bits in the middle of the stalk to be engraved. And I'm not quite sure how I'm going to do that. Let's have a play and see. So if I choose a circle, actually, I think I know how to do it. Let's duplicate the original. Okay. And line these up. And then try subtracting. That's almost done it, but you see it's left loads of weird little cut lines around the edge. That's okay, because now I've got, if I change that to engrave, I've got those bits I wanted. I just need to remove everything else, which I can do with shapes. This is exactly how I would slice something out in Cricut Design Space. Where's my circle? Why is it all the way up there? Let's grab all of them. All right. So I'm going to add these shapes over all the bits I don't want to keep. This may take a little while. So whilst I do this, let's speed it up with the magic of video editing. I've now added circles over most of the bits I want to remove. So I've selected them all. And let's go combine and unite to join them into one shape. And then select. There's my mouse gone, there it is. Select both of those and go combine, subtract. And that did the opposite of what I wanted it to do. All right. Let's try sending my stalks to the back and see if that does it better. Oh, I think I accidentally just undid my combining. It's a bit hard to see what it's doing a lot of the time. Right. Let's try that again. Zoom out again. And subtract. There we go. That's more like it. We're getting there now. There's just a few more bits to remove. And I don't think there's like a point remove tool like what you'd see in Adobe Illustrator or Inkscape or something like that, which is why I'm doing it with the shapes. So I'm going to go ahead and continue. Let's probably put that circle right back up here. Oh, where's everything else gone? Oh no, I've deleted everything. That's unfortunate. Oh, I must have selected everything at some point. Okay, right. I've hit undo a load of times. I'm back to this, back here. Okay, I think what I accidentally did was probably select everything instead of just selecting these bits. So let's try this again. Unite the circles. Subtract them from there. And everything else is still there as it should be. Okay, that was mildly terrifying. I thought I was going to have to start again. Okay. Right, now I'm going to continue taking out all these extra bits. Okay, I've got all of those done. So now we can subtract them. And now I'm just left with that. Look, there's one tiny little bit left to do that I must have missed. There, perfectly cut out. And then we can move this over to my stalk, my bottom layer, get it in place. It'll still be the right size because I haven't changed the size of everything. And then group that one. So now this should be ready for me to cut. I'm going to end up with 3 layers of wood. My bottom bit here, then the mandala, which will go on there, and then the flower and the leaf. I'm actually just going to test with just one leaf first. Because I am new to this and I haven't done engraving and cutting before, I don't want to try and do the whole thing and then realize I should have had settings different. So let's try it with just this one flower and see how that works. Okay. So this is all fine. Let's go into framing. That should be done. So now I believe I'm ready to start. We're all ready to go. I'll click start and then it will show you a preview of what you're about to do. And I'm just going to frame it again. I don't know why. I like to do it on both screens, both before and after I click the go button. I'm sure that's completely redundant and I don't need to do that at all, but I'd rather play it safe than sorry, and it only takes a few seconds anyway. My framing's done, so now I'll press start. Here we go. And we'll see how this goes. I'll try and show you some of the clips of the machine working. It's really hard to show this because it's so dark, but you can kind of see how the laser's going up and down the wood and engraving as it goes. I can already see the flowers starting to take shape, which is awesome. It now should be cutting, but this doesn't look right, so I'm a little concerned. I am mildly confused because the laser hasn't actually cut this out. If I open it up, you can see it's still only engraved. To make sure, I'll open it up, but I'm pretty sure it hasn't cut. Look, it's outlined it. And the engraving's lovely, but where is my cut out flower? Here's a little close-up, and I think it was my fault. I think I've done the settings wrong. So let's jump back to the computer and see what I did. I'll ungroup the layers so I can try and work out what I've done. If I move that engraving one away, here's my cut. Oh, look, I had it set to score and not cut, which is why I only just kind of outlined it a tiny bit and didn't actually cut it out. So I'll change that and put them back together in a group, and then move this along so it's not going to do it over the top of my other one. There's my other one. You can see I've put the wood back in the machine and refreshed the camera. I'll do it over here this time. And my engraving wasn't brilliant last time. It was pretty good, but I think it could be done a little bit better. So I'll up the lines per centimetre to 120. And that should mean it's a bit of a deeper burn. And some of those bits where you can sort of see the lines of the laser, hopefully they'll have disappeared. I need to frame it again, and then I will give this a go and see if it actually cuts out now I've, told it to cut. That was 100% user error on my part. I can already tell this time's gone better. There's my first attempt, and this one's my second. The engraving looks so much better with that up to 120 instead of 100. You can see it doesn't have any of those gaps, and it's a lovely darker colour. I've now gone through all the other layers and made absolutely sure that those bottom bits are set to cut and not just score. And then I've positioned all the shapes onto my wood, apart from the flower, which I've already cut out, so I don't need to do that one again. All right, let's see how this goes. Here's a little shot of the laser in action, cutting out the beautiful mandala details on the pumpkin. It's so detailed and precise on even these tiny lines, and it's already done the engraving, as you can see. We're on to the cutting now. Everything's done now, and I can see it's absolutely beautiful. That engraving looks spot on, and everything is cut out. So I'll take it out, and I'm really glad I cut those circles out of the leaves so it didn't engrave the whole thing, because this took 54 minutes to cut. Here's a closer look at the pieces now that they're all done. We'll start with the biggest one. So this one was pretty simple. It just had the engraving on the stalk and the rest of it's cut. There's a tiny bit of charring around the edges, but actually hardly any at all. I don't have the Air Assist tool in my Xtool M1, which is an optional add-on you can buy that shoots a little bit of air around the laser to stop your projects from charring. I don't have that. This is just a regular laser without any assistance, and I'm really impressed. It's not that burnt around the edges, a little bit, but not much. And this must be quite a good wood to use because it doesn't really smell either. So I don't actually like the smell of wood that's went through a laser cutter, but this one's not that offensive. Here's my little engraving. I'm glad I upped the lines on it because it has done a better engraving on there. And here's the original flower. Well, the original one I actually cut out, not the one I just scored. And again, those edges are a little bit darker where the laser's cut through, but because the engraving goes all the way to the edge, you don't really notice any of it. Similarly with the leaf, that's done a beautiful job on there. And finally, the pumpkin. Remember, it didn't engrave these bits because I chopped out the circles. I'm glad I did It would have been a very, very slow process otherwise. And yeah, so I like the effect of the engraving on those corners of the pumpkin. It does give it quite a little bit of extra visual interest. There's more charring on this piece than the others. I'm guessing that's probably because it's more intricate, but it's cut perfectly, even on these tiny thin bits of wood. It's absolutely spot on. My pumpkin will be 3 layers in total once everything's stuck. I've got this bottom one, then this one goes on top, and then finally the flower and the leaf. So all that's left to do is to stick it together. I have got a glue here. I've never tried this before. It's called Premier Craft Tools Construction Glue. Super strong and permanent, so I'm going to try and not get any on my fingers, but it does say it can do wood, which is why I'm using this one over my regular Carlisle glue. That might be able to do wood too. Let's have a little look. Oop, I'm going to drop it. Does it say? Oh, it does actually say this could do wood too. Well, now I'm conflicted. Do I try the new glue? Or do I use my tried and tested? Let's go tried and tested. Okay. Just going to put some glue on the back of this. I'm guessing I might need quite a lot. I've never ever tried gluing wood together before. I'm going to try and get in all those little details of the mandala. This glue does dry quick, so I'm going to have to move fairly speedily to make sure it doesn't dry before I've stuck it. Put that in place. That lines up beautifully. And then the leaf and the flower are going to get glued on too. I've glued all the pieces together, and I think this probably needs a good few hours for it to dry properly before I can really start moving about with it. But I'm going to carefully pick it up so I can show it to you in a little more detail. And just hope these bits don't fall off. If I tilt it, that's the thickness. I just moved that, so yes, definitely not dry. There we go. But just look how effective that is with all of the shadowing and the engraved wood, along with everything that's cut out. I'm really happy with that, and I like that it's rustic. It adds to that full sort of theme, but equally you could leave the engraving off and paint it. I'll do that instead. And yeah, I think that looks great. I'm really happy with it. It's a shame it took so long to do, but worth it, I would say. And I love that I can use my layered SVGs that I already have, that I've been using for years on my Cricut machine, with the Xtool M1 as well. And here are just some more little shots. I can't stop moving it about. I think I need to, otherwise it's going to all fall apart before that glue's dry. So I'll leave that there and end this video now. I hope you enjoyed this video on how to cut a layered SVG from wood on an Xtool M1 machine. If you did, please give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to my YouTube channel for loads more craft videos, including some new Xtool M1 videos coming very soon. Thank you for watching. Bye!